like make them a healthy plate of food and make them eat it, that would be the best thing ever. Control the portions, control what it is, everything. But that's not really how it works. And it's hard. It's a battle sometimes. So we're going to talk about responsibilities first. So we're going to talk about a certain item, and then I want you guys to tell me what you think, if this is the parent's responsibility or if this is the child's responsibility. So the first one is selecting and buying food, making the meals. Selecting and buying food, making the meals. Whose responsibility is that? Is that the child's or is that the parent's? Parents, yes. Which is difficult if you bring your child shopping. But it is ultimately our responsibility. So that's number one. The second one is presenting the food, the presentation of the food. Whose responsibility is that? The parents or the child's? Parents. The parents, right. So anything that we can do to make it pleasant for our child, not that we always have to cater to them and make triangle sandwiches or circle or dinosaur, but it does help sometimes. It's part of our responsibility to present it. The third one are regular meals and snacks that are pleasant. So providing regular meals 3 times a day and snacks, maybe once in between a meal, that are pleasant. Whose job is that? That's the parent. Right. These first 3 are pretty easy, right? Pretty obvious. Number 4, how much food is eaten? Who's in charge of that? How much food is eaten? How much food goes into the child's body? Who's in charge of that? The parent or the child? Child. Yeah, and it's hard sometimes. Maybe not here, I don't know. How much food is eaten? Number 5, to eat or not to eat?
Child.
Child. Yep. To eat or not to eat. Another hard one. And the last one, how the body turns out. So when they're an adult, what their body looks like. It's the child, right. And yeah, ultimately it's the genes. It's the way God has made their body to grow and to be. And sometimes we want to control all of these and not just those first 3. But the very first one is the foundation of it. It says selecting and buying food and making the meals. So if we take that one out, the rest of it doesn't work. So selecting and buying the food at the store and making the meals, that's really what it comes down to. This question on here, well, yeah, we don't have slides today, not really. But it says, yeah, it says you are the decision maker. What do you want to feed your child? That sounds like such an easy question. If only it were that easy all the time. But it is our responsibility. So just real quick, since most of us have older children, I am going to just touch on breastfeeding because that's the first food. That's the basic food for our children.
And actually, a lot of this stuff is on sort of the second page in here too.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Does it go exactly right?
I think pretty close.
Pretty close? Okay. So we'll go pretty fast through this. There's many health benefits. I mean, for the mom, it lowers the risk of breast cancer, ovarian cancer. It helps with your control of weight. It reduces the risk of type 2 diabetes as well. For the baby, there's tons of health benefits, and it lasts, even if you only breastfeed for a couple months, a couple years, depending on how long you're breastfeeding, the relationship with your baby is, those benefits last all the way through adulthood. So it's really quite amazing. Human milk also changes as they grow older. So there's some myths that say, oh, they don't need milk after 40 days or after 6 months or after a year, it's not good for them. But really, the milk keeps changing. It's a living substance. And also, it's really cool because if the mom is sick, antibodies are produced in the milk, and they are transferred to your baby. And if the baby is sick, just the attachment when they're latched, some of the babies germs and bacteria go into the woman's body, and the milk is changed and adjusted. So it's really, really a cool thing. Part of a benefit of breastfeeding is that the babies learn to self-regulate how much they eat, and that's something that we need our whole lives to learn how much to eat, when we're full, when we're feeling full. Yeah. Let me see. Trying to think. Okay. Well, just real quick for those, because I guess we're about half and half with that. Okay. What are some cues that you have seen? I mean, whether it's breast milk or formula fed, what are some cues that babies are hungry? Can we just say a few of them? How do we know that babies are hungry? Crying is usually the last cue, but what are some things that happen before they cry?
Start searching.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they move around.
I'm not your mom.
Yeah. Yep. What other things?
Because do something with her. Like, think
Yep.
about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
My kids were just like clockwork. You could tell.
Oh, yeah.
They were hungry by what time of day it was.
Could see it in their eyes. Yeah.
Feed me.
Yeah. Yep. That's good.
When they're a little older, they'll just start pulling on your shirt.
Yeah. Yeah. When they're older, they have ways to tell you. Sometimes it hurts. Yeah. What if,
Say it.
yeah.
Mom, I need to eat.
Good. How about cues that they're full? And this is also for breastfed and formula fed. What are some cues that they're full?
Just stop being interested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they could turn their head away,
Fall asleep.
fall asleep. Yeah. Rebecca likes to bite when I've stopped paying attention to her and like try to latch. Oh, you're not done yet. Keep eating, and she looks at me and smiles and bites down.
Oh.
And that's I need to pay attention before that happens. Before she gets teeth too. But yeah, we have to kind of be careful when we stop trusting our baby and our child with them knowing when they're full and when they're all done, and when we start feeding solids and say, oh, just finish this cup of Gerber or a cup of homemade food or finish your plate. I mean, we have to kind of be careful about knowing when they're done. So, yes. Breastfeeding is also cost effective. As we know, we don't have to pay for it, really. We just have to feed ourselves well and drink well, right? Drink a lot of water. Breastfeeding is so good for bonding. And if you formula feed, that's fine too. Just make sure that you're holding your baby and that you're looking at your baby, talking to him or her. That's so important for brain development and for bonding. Let's see. We'll kind of skip some of this. Let's go to the first foods. Once the baby joins the family table and are starting to eat solid foods, about 6 months is when we want to start doing that, just to kind of avoid the food allergies if we can. Some good things to start with are egg yolks. If we just boil the egg and feed them the yellow part of it, we want to wait with the white part until they're a year. We can mash fruits, vegetables, mix it with breast milk or formula if you have that, or any like that. You could use mashed avocado. One of my sons really liked avocado. Or mashed bananas, sweet potatoes, squash. What other things have your kids liked for one of their first foods? Remember?
I didn't realize I wasn't supposed to be feeding her, but my daughter loves strawberries. My
Oh.
boy, the diaper rash just followed right along.
Yeah.
But, whoops.
Vegetables.
She ate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do any of you have any combinations of foods that you mixed? Any two vegetables together or fruits? Has anybody made their own baby food? Yeah.
It's been a while. It's like,
Yeah.
trying to think back, it's hard. Peas, bananas, starter foods, I think.
Carrots.
Yeah.
Tried to start with the vegetables.
Yeah.
Not as sweet.
Yeah. And then later, once you start eating the sweet foods, you have to mix the vegetables with the sweet foods.
Yeah, I know
to
they
eat
eat that,
it.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. At about a year, then we start introducing the whole grain cereals or yogurt with fruit, and just whatever your family is eating. Hopefully, as a family, you're eating healthy foods, and so you can just give that to your baby as well. Yeah, do you want to?
Well, all right, so I get the section about a little bit older kids, and so I'm Angela Cruz-Visser, and I'm a community health education specialist and work for Community Health Partners, Public Health as well. And I guess I am curious from you, what are your biggest challenges in feeding your kids? Picky eaters.
Mixed foods.
Is that, would you say, your biggest challenge for everybody, or is there something else that's sort of a big challenge? Picky? Okay.
Vegetables.
Yeah, and you know, I think, like, for my kids too, that is by far what I'm most concerned about. And I have, as much as I know, this whole idea of, like, they are in charge of what and how much they eat, I think, for me as a parent, that is the hardest thing to be, like, okay with, right? Because you prepare food, you put it on the table, and to actually let them pick what they want to eat and how much is by far the hardest thing for me to do, and I'm not always so good at it. But a couple of things. So on your one of those sheets where the top is time-saving tips, and then the bottom is tips for picky eaters. There are just a couple of things that I want to, the take-homes that I think for those of you who say picky eaters are your biggest challenge. One of sort of the most comforting things to me is this balance their diet over days, not meals. Or even thinking, you know, sometimes you think, oh, I know my kid's supposed to have fruits and vegetables every day. And, you know, I know 5 a day is maybe the norm, right? 5 different fruits and vegetables a day. Well, the first thing I'd say is it's over the week. You know, if you think about over the week, do they have a pretty balanced diet over the whole week as opposed to over the day? That's really more important than every day making sure it's balanced. And you'll probably notice, like, if you let your kids sort of be self-directed in how much they eat, some days they will be ravenous and they will eat a ton, and then other days they will just, like, pick at their food. But that is the beauty of it. Sometimes they're growing more, sometimes they have been burning more calories and they need more, and other times you just have to be okay with them picking at their food. And as long as over the week you have a pretty good balance, you're okay and they're okay. And that children may have to try something up to 16 times before liking it. Like, that is crazy. Honestly, if you think about it, like, which one of us is going to be willing to try something 16 times? So if you're serving a new food and your kid won't try it or makes a face at it, don't be discouraged. Don't give up. That doesn't mean you just stop trying new things. And that's also something else, is don't give up trying new foods just because you have a picky eater. I know it's super frustrating when you make food and your kids, like, look at it like, I'm not going to touch that. Why would you make that? And you don't want it to feel wasteful. But make things that you like. Don't be afraid to try new things, but just realize it might take them a really long time. You know, if you think about it, when's the last time you tried a new food? Anybody? When's the last time you tried something new? Or if you think about, okay, what is the last new food that you tried? If anyone's willing to share, what's the last new thing you tried?
Fennel.
Oh, fennel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what'd you
I thought
think?
it was disgusting.
Right?
It tasted like black licorice. I did not like
Oh, yeah,
that.
fennel is really refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But good for you for trying it, right? Like, my point is that for a lot of us, we don't try new things very often. So if we want our kids to try new things, we get to be the example. And that's another sort of a tip, is you set the stage and the example for food in your house. You know, not just preparing it, but also how you respond to food. My husband sometimes drives me nuts because I'll make something and he'll turn up his nose at it. I'm like, you can't do that. Your kids see that, and then they think that's an okay way to act, right? But so, you know, maybe have a discussion with the your significant other in the home and just explain, like, you're gonna try new things and you don't have to like it, but you can't make a big deal about it because your kids are watching you. Exactly. You have to fake it, at least have a couple bites. So, and don't try to convince your child to try something, but sometimes just seeing you or maybe a sibling or a peer eat the food might be all that they need. I did some nutrition education with 3rd graders, and I had them do some taste testing, and I brought broccoli and carrots and some other things, and there were kids who had never tried broccoli. Like if I'd asked, they'd never tried it. Or cauliflower, that was the other thing, like just raw. They tried it because their classmates were trying it. And it was just, and one of them was like, oh, that's really good. So, there's something about that, about being exposed to it and just seeing other people try it. That's really good.
Angela, what is he, 6? Yeah. So he went to kindergarten this year, and Max has not, since he was 2, he had a chicken nugget when he was 2, and that's the only meat he has ever ate. He refused, and then I was having babies, and he just got away from me, and so he was the pickiest eater ever. He eats peanut butter sandwiches, and he eats breadsticks. Peanut butter is the only protein. But going to kindergarten this year, he eats ham. He eats his, pasta. But he eats all these meats now, like, nasty stuff. What is it called? Cooked, patties of some kind. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm still struggling with it at home, because he still feels like he can get away with it at home.
Well, and and that's part of it too,
Yeah,
is just
it
setting
is
that
amazing.
stage for not maybe catering so much. Like, you have your
Yeah.
family meal, and it's okay if you choose not to eat that, but you're not going to make something separate, But for me, that's sometimes it's very hard, the whole you can choose not to eat it, right? And part of it is because you cook and you put your, love into it. It's like refusing to eat what you made. But here's the other thing that's on here as a tip too, that it's not hard for kids to get the 900 to 1,000 calories they need. It's not. They probably don't need as much food as you think they do. A good rule of thumb is 1 tablespoon per year of life as a serving size. Because their stomachs are small. And a lot of times as adults, when we feed them maybe smaller than adult portions, but it's more than they need. They can always, so a good rule of thumb is a tablespoon per year of life, and then a 1/4 cup after age 4 is a serving. They can ask for seconds, if they're still hungry, but that's a good starting place, as opposed to putting a big, huge serving and expecting that they're going to eat all of it. And for kids too, sometimes it's overwhelming if they see a large portion on their plate, that they might not eat it just because it looks like so much, which seems a little bit odd. But if you give them an appropriate size portion, they might be more willing to try it. Sometimes, like Kelly mentioned, it's even in the serving, especially if you have toddlers. You might have seen on Pinterest and stuff, but like an ice cube tray full of different options that they can kind of pick. But the beauty of that is they get to pick which pieces they want. So if you fill it with all kinds of different things, and then they get to choose, that's giving them some control. And of course, we know toddlers and 3-year-olds are all about learning what they can control and what they can't control. So it is a really important time in life to sort of let them feel that control over food, which, we do when they're babies. We let them decide when they're full. And somehow it's in those toddler years that becomes a bit of a battle. And part of that whole meals being pleasant thing, I know at my house sometimes dinner time is just not pleasant, but trying as hard as you can to make it a good experience, a pleasant experience, where it doesn't turn into those battles is really important. On the back here are some ideas for healthier kinds of options to try to eat more whole foods. So a whole food is something that isn't processed and refined. Some different ideas, and this whole potato chips alternative to popcorn. I was just having a conversation with someone in my office, and she was like, I thought popcorn was so good, and now I'm finding out there's trans fats. But she was talking about microwave popcorn. So popcorn is a fantastic snack for older kids. It is a whole grain. But, usually air popped because there's a lot of gunk that goes into microwave popcorn, but air popped and you can put all kinds of, good toppings on it to make it really tasty. It's a really great snack, and your kids probably love it, I'm guessing. So just some ideas on there. And to encourage this whole idea of trying new food, on the back of the one, let's see, there's the next one with the avocado. These are just some foods that maybe you've tried but might be new to you, because they're ones that maybe people don't eat so often. And some quick serving ideas. So avocados. Now, how many of you is avocado a pretty common food in your house? Okay. If you've never tried avocado, there you go. A new food to try, right? If we keep trying new things, chances are our kids will be a little more adventurous eaters as well. So a couple of good ideas, use on a sandwich in place of mayonnaise. Garnish bean soup, tacos or nachos, or like if you like tortilla soup, avocado on the top with whatever other garnish is just fantastic. And it gives some of the nutrition information, and so you might have steered away from avocados because you know that they're full of fat, but it's good, healthy fat. It's very good for you, and really good for your kids too. So how many of you have ever cooked cabbage for your family?
It's been a long time.
So a couple of different ideas. Saute with onions and serve with a whole grain. That would be a pretty complete meal. And actually at our house, the simplest way, and like what my family actually will eat, is I just chop it up, put it in with a knob of butter in a sauce, in like a saute pan, just let it cook for a while. It gets all soft and buttery, and oh my goodness, it's like amazing that it's cabbage, because it just has this really nice flavor. Do you like coleslaw? Cabbage chopped up in coleslaw. I make coleslaw with yogurt. Instead of like half yogurt, half mayo, so it's not quite as mayonnaise-y. Spread peanut butter on a large leaf and roll it up. That might be for a kid who's really unwilling to try it, but peanut butter is the flavor they like. Give it a try. On the back is a couple of different seeds, and some different ways to try seeds. And then there's also on the back of this one, in this little booklet, there's a lot of just sort of a summary of some of these little tips and things. And a couple of recipes. So simple beans and rice, and a granola recipe. So you might buy granola in the store, but it's super easy to make, not hard at all. The beauty of that is knowing what you put in it, knowing exactly what it is. We are so almost out of time. What questions did you come with today that we didn't talk about at all? Or if you have like an easy recipe or snack that your kids just absolutely love, I'm sure everybody else would love to know.
How do you deal with snack times? Like my daughter, and I think I'm guilty of, not guilty, but our bodies are definitely, we're not hungry when we wake up right away. But then you can almost set a clock by 9:30 or 10 o'clock, ready to eat. So do you suggest, giving them the snack food, or do you do breakfast food at that point? And then same thing with the afternoon snack. Is it, like if she didn't eat her full meal or didn't try her full meal, she's 2, almost 3. Do you come back around and represent lunch, or do you do a different snack?
I would say that's, I would say what you choose to provide for those snacks is up to you. That's a parent's responsibility. But it is really important to still have those times, because kids' bodies are little. Adults maybe don't even need snacks necessarily, but kids really do. And as long as it's something healthy, because, and it's harder maybe to think of healthier snack food, but if it's that she just didn't like the lunch, you don't want it to be sort of like punishment.
Right.
But if she just wasn't hungry, and it's something that keeps well, I wouldn't see any problem with. I do that sometimes. Like, oh, you didn't eat that. We'll have it for a snack. And part of that then is getting out of that, like what constitutes the snack. But I know, like my kids are getting to the point where they'll be like, no, I don't want something out of the fridge. I want something out of the cracker cupboard. Like they're very particular about. But then I know it's also my responsibility to make sure, okay, then there are things in that cracker cupboard that are healthy. And I think that is one of the hardest things, because my kids don't want healthy snacks.
And they're good snacks.
Yeah, exactly. Which I tell them, guys, that's basically candy. That's a treat. And I've tried, and at my house, I've tried, and I don't do a real good job of it, but tried to distinguish between what's a treat and what's a snack. Like a snack is something that's actual food, and a treat is more like junky. I don't know if that's a helpful distinction or not for them, but
I think my 3-year-old is so sporadic in when he eats. Whenever he's hungry, I just offer him something healthy. I don't know if he eats 3 meals and 2 snacks. I mean, it's just whenever he's hungry, I find something healthy to give him, and that counts towards the week's
yeah, exactly.
balanced meal. I mean, it's difficult sometimes.
And I really do think thinking about it in terms of a week as opposed to a day is so freeing. You know, like it's okay if he really or she only ate bread one day. Like as long as I know sometime during the week we're sort of catching up or having something of nutrition.
So when do you, I have a 2-year-old too, and he very picky about stuff. He used to eat everything when he was little, and then, we had his 2-year appointment, and the doctor was like, your taste buds start to change around 18 months. And I was like, oh, yeah, that would explain it. But when do you, so to me, he's still little, but I still, I really want him to eat something. But there's, like, the meat, he doesn't, there's certain, if it's ground hamburger and something or whatever, we can get it in him. But there's certain, like, meals where I know he's not going to eat it at all. So when is that point where, so sometimes I'm like, I want him to eat, so we have leftover of whatever, I'm just going to make that for him because I know he likes that. But I don't want him to always learn, he's always going to have something different, from what we have. So where's that, where's that?
Well, and I think there is, one thing you can try is offering more variety at your meal, right? So that there'd be something he would eat, or that he'll eat. Because also if it takes 16 times, that means it's offering a lot of times that they're not going to eat it, or,
That
but
was 16 times of trying
Right,
it,
yeah.
so not presenting it.
Okay.
but
They see it 32
Yeah.
times.
but 2-year-olds are notorious for sort of going on these food jags, and just not to get too anxious about it, or not to, if they choose not to eat at a meal,
I know. It's starting to be okay
Really?
with that. People have been like,
Exactly.
"Oh,
I mean,
when they're hungry."
that's exactly it. And as long as at your snack time, then, if you're offering things that are nutritious, and I'm not even going to say healthy, but like that have some nutritional value to them. If you know what your snacks are, you know that what you're serving at meals, even if they don't eat the main thing, if there's something like, a side that they actually like. And for me as an adult and also for my older kids, one of my goals has been to have like a fruit and vegetable or 2 vegetables at every meal, because the more variety you have, it's easier to eat it, right? So instead of thinking about like a main dish and 1 side vegetable, let's say, trying to serve 2, and it's easier for me to get the number of fruits and vegetables that I need in a day, and it's also easier for my kids because chances are, like I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old who have very different opinions about what they like, right? So it's not, I can't even anymore, and part of that's good, I guess, because I've sort of given up. Like, I'm never going to have something that everybody's going to like, so I may as well just make what I like to make. Because, chances are one of them will love it, and the other one will be like, I don't like this. So,
But I think we have to start somewhere, and if there's just one goal that you can make for your family for a week or for a month, and just write it on your fridge. I mean, if you're going to serve 2 vegetables for each supper, or if you're going to try 1 new food for yourself, or whatever it is, write it down and post it so that you can make changes.
and small changes.
Yeah.
Small changes
Yeah.
are
Changing white bread to wheat bread, or
And with Max being a big eater, so I wouldn't feel so guilty when I go to bed at night. I just switched to all wheat bread, and then I got just the natural peanut butter, so it didn't have any crazy stuff in it, and he still ate carrots, and he eats apples and peanut butter, so like those snacks, I just stuck with, and he eats eggs, so I felt like more content with, well, at least he's eating healthy stuff,
Yeah.
and not all, just junk food. I think that is important too, like you said, offering, I don't know, at least healthy snacks.
Yeah.
And stuff though. I have a lot of guilt. I do.
Well, and you know what? I think that is huge. Like, mommy guilt about food is
Yes.
massive. And that's why I want to take a little of that away from
Yeah.
you. Like, you don't have to be in charge of what they eat. You just get to be in charge of what you buy. So.
Well, if any of you are we about finished probably, yeah. If any of you are interested in breastfeeding support, if that's something that is part of the stage of your life, we do support groups on Friday, and it's just a fun coffee time for a couple hours or however much time you have. And we talk about breastfeeding questions, but we also talk about anything related to babies and families and whatever's going on in life. So if you're pregnant or if you are past breastfeeding,